themselves a great day. This guy has just stepped all over in it. Right now, the deep state's freaking out. We've got Obama been having strange speeches lately. We've got everybody and their mother coming out. They're trying to really spin this Nancy Pelosi stuff. There is so much bad press. Bolsonaro, what's going on out in Brazil right now. There is so many places right now where you can literally see the deep state panicking. Kind of feels good to watch, doesn't it? Now, they're a little dangerous at this time, but I do believe to a large extent they've been declawed, if you will. And so I think we're kind of living through this transfer of power, things happening simultaneously right now. Things are getting interesting, to say the bare minimum. Now, a reminder to everybody, change your clocks back on Sunday at 2 a.m., right? Fall back an hour. I do know that he is hardcore war hawk, and Iran's probably very concerned right now. In fact, we're hearing potential wars. And I think this article is fantastic, and it gets into some of the history and everything else way more than I want for this particular broadcast. But this little section here says a lot, and I think it kind of does a good job of really spelling out what is happening on the world front right now. Are we going to see more war in the months ahead? Both sides just continue to escalate the conflict in Ukraine, but it may soon have to share top billings as more wars suddenly erupt around the globe. Now that it looks like Benjamin Netanyahu will be returning to power in Israel, a major confrontation with Iran is seemingly closer than ever. Meanwhile, tensions between North Korea and South Korea have risen to the highest level in my entire lifetime. Most people don't realize this, but the North Koreans are poised to launch an invasion at all times. All they need is an opportunity, and that may come when China invades Taiwan. There's a lot of very interesting things that seem to be happening all over the place. Now, there's also some great theories. I think Juan O'Saban's been talking about it. But essentially, this does have us spreading our military all over the place. Now, again, we have probably one of the greatest militaries on the planet. But I don't believe it is our responsibility to fight all these wars, to keep these wars from happening. I think we're there to keep maybe certain things from spilling over. We're there maybe to keep things in check. You know, if you go nuclear, we're right there. We're going to drop them on you too. That's end of story, right? So don't do it. Mutually assured destruction, or MAD, as we used to call it. So a lot of concerns about what is going on. North Korea, pissed off at us. We'll mention that here in the next story. North Korea fires suspected ICBM over Japan. Residents take shelter. It's impressive, actually, what this missile did. I mean, I figured it seems overkill. I mean, it's obviously the range of this thing is significantly longer than they had to do. But the longer range missile, it reached a maximum altitude of 1,920 kilometers. That is really far up there. I'm going to show a graphic here in a second to demonstrate how redonkulously high that is. Unnecessary. They shot this thing 760 kilometers in distance. They did not need to go, almost 3 times that distance in height? Something a little strange. So this thing's, I think they were demonstrating it's got enormous range. Being able to hit that height implies that it could have gone way the frick further than 760 kilometers. This is a long range. Maybe it's a medium range. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but it's impressive. Now, again, just to put things in perspective, troposphere goes up to 20 kilometers. Stratosphere goes up to 50 kilometers. Mesosphere goes up to 85 kilometers. Thermosphere goes up to 600 kilometers. Exosphere, which is the last little thin wispy bit of where Elon Musk's satellites are just barely above, that goes up to 10,000 kilometers. So well past the beginning of the exosphere. At 1,900 kilometers this thing went, so significantly past that, but not completely out of the atmosphere. That's high. It's really, really, really high. Now, North Korea hits out at an awful mistake they're saying by the U.S. This is the RT that's putting the story out. I don't think it's awful. I think we're there for a reason. Now, what I think is also interesting, because I've been talking about how I think we're there to have troops in place for, inevitably, when China does the Taiwan thing. Well, interestingly enough, they've extended this now because of the escalations from North Korea, from them shooting those missiles and whatnot. So now they've decided to extend these military drills even further. They don't give us a date yet We don't exactly know. I think initially they were supposed to go until November 4th. He's going to cut 3,700 positions at Twitter supposedly tomorrow. Friday, just in case you're already there and you're watching. I know a lot of people watch me in the morning. So in a highly anticipated move, the new owner of Twitter, Elon Musk, is expected to fire 3,700 employees. The mass layoff equate to roughly half of the company. Most companies go through a phase of cleaning house after acquisition. Twitter, on the other hand, is experiencing a house fire. And it is. They're bleeding money. They've got to figure out a way to get costs down. They've obviously got a lot of people they don't trust. They got people that refuse to work from the office. That's going to be a huge, huge problem with Musk. You're not willing to come back to the office, you're definitely fired. Definitely. So I'm sure there's been some surveys that have gone out to people and they've had a week to fill them out or something, and it's like, you've got to get this done. The manager's hammering on them. Your surveys aren't complete. And I'm sure one of the key questions, amongst many, was, are you willing to come back to the office? Yes, no, or put it in one of those strongly agree, slightly disagree, right? Like whatever the hell, however they did it. It was probably one of those strongly agree, slightly agree, don't agree, right? Whatever. But this, again, they've got a lot to try to work through. This is impressive in my mind, and from like a business analyst standpoint, I think it's fascinating. Fascinating. It's kind of what I do in my normal job. Musk humiliates AOC after she whines about the $8 verification fee. Kind of funny how they're going back and forth. And he kind of goes off on a few people, which I just kind of want to scroll through some of these tweets because I think they're awesome. But here's Elon Musk, like, you're giving me a hard time about $8, but you're trying to get people to go to your site and order this AOC sweatshirt, this periwinkle sweatshirt for $58? Question yourself or your qualifications. Again, just in a major war with the guy. Then Elon Musk puts this one out for the red, blue check marks. $8 a month for Twitter verification? So much for free speech. And then over here, you can still use Twitter for free, just without the benefits. And then the blue check box is like, huh? And the check mark, and then he's like, oh, I'm mad now. Right? That's what's going on. And then he puts some context around it. $8 Frappuccino at Starbucks lasts you about 30 minutes. And, take you about 30 minutes in the gym to work off. And Twitter, $8 lasts you 30 days. No! But the Starbucks is okay. Again, it's so expensive. And then you've got Ocasio-Cortez saying, tax the rich. She was wearing that tax the rich dress, which he makes fun of. That's what he's doing. If you want a blue checkbox, which overwhelmingly are wealthy, which are overwhelmingly left-leaning people, which overwhelmingly support censorship, he's like, yeah, tax the rich. So here's Ian Miles Chung kind of doing some similar meme work here. Charge me $8 for Twitter and I'll leave. And he's like coming closer to him. Your terms are acceptable. Means you can get out. GTFO. So yes, and Ocasio-Cortez having to correct herself. And again, they shared the "Stop Hitting on Me" tweet from way back when, which was pretty damn funny. Ian Miles Chung shares here pure savagery as he shows this tweet exchange between Elon Musk and Frida Gittis. Twitter is simply the most interesting place on the internet. That's why you're reading this tweet right now. Frida says, that's why it's so sad watching you play with it like it's a toy and you're a child. Elon Musk is like, $8. She's a blue checkbox, right? Check mark, whatever. So he says again, to all complainers, please continue complaining, but it will cost you $8. You'll get what you pay for. Advertisers should support freedom of speech and political correctness. And of course, he shares that tweet of him wearing that crazy devil champion of the devil, whatever the hell it is. It's got the upside down cross and it's Baphomet's head, whatever the hell that stupid goat head thing is. Baphomet? I think that's what it is. And by the way, it's kind of like nice armor. Paid money for that. I mean, the guy's a billionaire, so whatever. So again, a lot of pissed off people saying, $8 too much, $8 too much, whatever. Companies kind of got to make money somehow. They're already threatening advertisers. There's pressure groups targeting top Twitter advertisers, encouraging them to put pressure on Elon Musk to censor. It's all about censor. Censor. This is all the deep state. Deep state's behind these advertisers. Deep state's behind the politicians. Deep state's behind a lot of the courts. Deep state's behind a lot of things. And here they are losing. Putting pressure on advertisers. He's like, all right, I'm going to charge people $8. You want the checkbox? you pay for it. If not, get the hell off. I don't care. This is where the conversation's happening right now. He's a busy guy. We're at the end of a major era, folks. This is some kind of bummer financial stuff, sort of, but it's the reality of the deep state economy. Deep state economy has about $2.5 quadrillion of debt waiting to happen. They break it down. Of course I didn't. I think it's the top couple paragraphs here. So he says this credit guy, this Egan von Greyers, talking about the stores gold for clients in the biggest private gold vaults buried deep under the Swiss Alps. He's a Swiss banker, and he's talking about the risks of the global markets right now. And what he says is, quote, therefore my estimate for derivatives would be at least 2 quadrillion, and I think that is probably conservative. That's 2,000 trillion, just for those of you that are like, what? Yeah, 2 quadrillion is 2,000 trillion. Then we have debt on top of that of 300 trillion, and we have also a couple hundred trillion in unfunded liabilities. So we're talking about 2.5 quadrillion or 2,500 trillion, and that's with the global GDP of 80 trillion. So we've got 2.5 quadrillion or 2,500 trillion, and the global GDP is only 80 trillion, and we have 2,500 trillion in debt. So there is a disaster waiting to happen, and especially because of all this created money has no value whatsoever. I always knew this would collapse, but it's taken longer than I expected, but I think we are at the end of a major era. These derivatives at some point in the coming few years will actually turn into debt. Central banks will have to cover all the outstanding liabilities of the commercial banks, as we are seeing now with Credit Suisse, Bank of England, etc. This is going to happen across the board, whether it's called derivatives or called debt. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing. It will have the same effect on the world financial system, which will be disastrous, of course. Now, the Fed did raise the rates again yesterday, 75 basis points once again, or 0.75%. That's the third raise I believe they've done, right? They're up to 3.75 now. And they're talking about raising them further. In fact, we've got a little video talking about that here. Check it out.
At some point, as I've said in the last 2 press conferences, it will become appropriate to slow the pace of increases as we approach the level of interest rates that will be sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to our 2% goal. There is significant uncertainty around that level of interest rates. Even so, we still have some ways to go, and incoming data since our last meeting suggests that the ultimate level of interest rates will be higher than previously expected.
So they're not done raising rates yet, it seems. Now, again, they just do it, seems, a month at a time, see how it works, and then they come back and consider doing it again. So, again, that's problematic in and of itself. Certainly, it's going to slow down the housing market tremendously right now. Now, John Schwartz, mayor of Arkham, wherever that is, it's rare to see the Fed speaking this clearly about how it works. But here, the president of the Kansas City branch says Americans have too much money, and that's a problem the Fed's going to solve. Literally. Higher borrowing costs have already put a big dent in the housing market. As a result, the Fed may have to tap the brakes harder for longer than it otherwise would. We see today that there is a bit of savings buffer still sitting in households that may allow them to continue to spend in a way that keeps demand strong. That suggests we have to keep at this for a while. So, yeah, they're trying to slow down the economy, period. This is going to hurt the poor the most. People that have money, that's what they're worried about right now. So they're trying to hurt that further. Now, they would if they could. This is deep state thinking. They would if they could. They'd just go in and tax it and take your money so you don't have savings. That way you can't spend money. That way we could fix the economy. And in their thinking, and in a lot of liberals' thinking, that would be justified in their minds. Again, this is the way they think. They don't believe you have a right to what you've earned. Now, the stocks aren't, getting hammered nearly as bad as I thought they would. I mean, again, I'm not an expert at this by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to be either. But the pre-trading wasn't really that bad. NASDAQ took a pretty big hit, 1.3% down in the pre-market hours. But right now, not looking bad, and we'll see how the day finishes off. We've still got hour plus of trading as of where I'm recording right now. Treasuries are up a teeny tiny bit, and that's sort of good, I guess. Price of gold's down again, which again is just representative of the power of the dollar. That's all it is, the value of the dollar right now. Oil's down a little bit as well too, so not bad stuff. Not bad stuff. Of their hypocrisy. Yeah, we got lots of that in this particular news segment. Biden's White House deletes the misleading tweet on Social Security after Twitter context check. You guys remember this one, right? The White House seniors getting the biggest Social Security increase, yada, yada. I talked about it yesterday, I believe. Seniors are getting the biggest increase. Well, readers added context they thought you might want to know, which was, this was enacted by Nixon way back when. Biden had nothing to do with this. It's just because the consumer price index is so damn high right now that Social Security, which is what they base that raise off of, has to give them a giant raise. I mean, kind of Biden could take credit because he's ruined the economy and he's the reason the consumer price index is so high, but not necessarily the way you want to brag on it. And that's ultimately what this ended up looking like. So they took it down. Now, interestingly, we've got a new tweet up by Biden. We lost over 180,000 manufacturing jobs under the last guy. We created 700,000 manufacturing jobs on my watch. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. The tweet is conflating regaining lost jobs with creation of new jobs that never existed before. They never thought we would fact check them. Twitter was never supposed to change hands.